because it's so drastic. But hey, bro, John, I really appreciate you going through the math with us, man, because math is definitely not my strong suit, brother.
So you telling me those guys don't have to do that math in the field?
Oh, like while they're flying it, you mean?
I mean, shit. You guys just did it. What the fuck? What they need it for?
Bro,
Well, okay,
crazy.
my bad. Let me add some context. If it's not done manually, they would have to do it themselves, basically. Like if the plane doesn't do it, they would have to do it.
Right.
Right.
So this
Right.
is
Yeah. No,
math that they should be knowledgeable enough to do off the top of their head while they're flying a plane. Eh?
they would probably have instruments showing them, if anything, but still, it just the physical act of doing it is that what's happening, and that's not what's happening.
Well, back to kind of the thing I was saying before. If again, I'll emphasize the word "if" because I believe this and you guys don't. If the Earth is round, then gravity has to be holding things together. Obviously, otherwise things would drop off the edges. If gravity is always accelerating items towards the center of the Earth, then as the plane goes along the surface of the Earth, the vector of that acceleration changes to maintain pointing toward the center. So then that instrument that is telling the pilot what is level at his location is going to him indicate that he's starting to climb in altitude. He's starting to pitch up with respect to that plumb line at his
Right.
location. So in his mind, he's just bringing the nose down a little bit to maintain that constant R value above the from the
Right.
center of the Earth.
Right, but that's why I began this conversation with the understanding of how gravity is affecting the entire situation, right? So we understand that gravity is a weak pseudo force, right? It's an effect that's weaker than electrostatics, right? Like if you blow up a balloon and you drop it, it goes to the ground. But if you rub it against your hair, it's going to stick to you, right? So gravity is not stronger by any means than anything as simple as that. And now we have entire propulsion systems, right? This jet is flying at 4,500 miles, right? Miles per hour. That is an extremely strong propulsion system that is overcoming the effects of gravity. Gravity is not having an effect on that in the way that you're thinking in that manner. It's not just automatically pulling that nose down and just setting the level like that. That's not happening.
Not only that, depending on the coordinates and trajectory of that plane, gravity would have to compensate for velocities more in one direction than the other. If New Perspective were here, he would have a baby, like a literal baby will come out of him for this conversation because he has the arguments down packed better than I do. But not only there's a subconscious invocation that the pilot does without knowing, but the gravity, magical gravity, does it for different velocities, and that's just silly. They don't train for this stuff, and there's no mechanical explanation of how gravity would do this.
Yeah, so and this is why like I asked it earlier because it hit me like holy shit, man, this is a really simple one that ain't adding up, man, and I think everybody can kind of understand this one. It's just one of those simple. This is like one that's almost as simple as just zooming in on something that's supposedly hidden over a curve and actually seeing it again. It's one of those things, you know. I'm
Simple as
surprised I
Aries
don't hear it
failure.
more.
Simple as Aries failure. Water in a water in a telescope, or even simpler than that, water in a bucket that
Water in
spins
a
around.
bucket. Where Alan at?
You need to learn general relativity, bro. Tensor math.
All of science defeated by a bucket. God damn it.
Bro, once I heard Robert Bennett explain what the lab frame was, I was like, oh my God, we can only prove
Yeah.
the lab frame.
Lab frames, I'll be honest, like I need to remind myself again and again because the lab frame thing gets me confused sometimes, but it's just so, once you kind of really understand it in whatever you're talking about at the moment, it's like, oh yeah, Well, that doesn't make any sense.